Good morning, beautiful souls. Tim Wild back in my garden today, and it's a beautiful mid-September morning, although the evenings are drawing in now, and a lot of us are kind of... What I want to look at this morning is a little bit about the almost like the feelings of trepidation that we're getting for the coming winter in the northern hemisphere. It'll be summer in the southern hemisphere. But what we're kind of expecting and what our reality is going to present to us upon that level of expectation. And justifiably, at the moment, many of us are feeling like the survival buttons have been pressed, especially if we've got in the UK, if you've got children in the UK schools. There is a lot going on. There is a lot that is occurring in our immediate vicinity. And I'm not just talking about the 3D TV screen that I've mentioned in previous videos. The thing about the way that our realities are interacting at the moment is many of us are still kind of intertwined with this very 3D, the setup of the 3D matrix. And although we're in the process of drawing ourselves, we're drawing ourselves out of it, we've extracted, we can see, we've disconnected. We've still got connections to it. We've got financial connections to it. We've got a lot of our medicine and our schooling is still tied into this particular the setup. And this is what's causing the anxiety, the trepidation, the fear, and also what are we going to be experiencing during this winter, which a lot of people are expecting it to be challenging, to be hard. And there is increasing information coming in from the higher realms that although we've experienced a incredible amount of people waking up over the last year, the last 6 months or so, that this particular winter, and I'm talking from the period from kind of November to February, will see almost one of the... previously it was a little bit like a rolling ball. Things would occur and the lights would start coming on in people around us, like people that you'd never expect to wake up. But from what I can feel and what I can see and what I'm being shown, during November to February, we'll see almost like a mass wake up, like a mass disconnection from the matrix. And with this, and this is where things start getting interesting, the terminology holy fire or holy anger are coming in on a regular basis. Now, I've explained a little bit before about how people wake up, or the process of waking up in the past, pre-2012, compared to the wake-up processes that we've been experiencing since the cosmic moment onwards. And they're very, very different. Now, I woke up... It all depends on what you categorize as awake. You can be spiritually awake, you can be on your pathway, but you haven't experienced your awakening yet, which means you go through a unforgettable set of circumstances that you will remember for the rest of your life like it was yesterday, where you went from one state of being to another in a very short space of time. And usually that period of time is quite intense, it's quite painful. It puts you, it kind of strips you back down to like a bare minimum, and you have to kind of regrow again from that. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, I've been through that transformation multiple times, but there is one primary one which always puts you into the trajectory that you will be on probably for the rest of your spiritual incarnation. Now, when I went through mine in 2008, I was already on the spiritual pathway. I already had decided that this was going to be what I was committing a large percentage of my life to for the rest of my existence. It's almost like once you've found that, doesn't matter what else you've got going on in your life, you never go back again. So I had my interests in, I was very, very interested in the Ascension process. I was very, very interested in the angels, in Atlantis, crystals, all of the other things that you would normally associate with what we do. But I had no real concept of where it was going and what I was going to do with it. And then I went through the most phenomenal life change at the end of 2008. And it was then that I was kind of put into a position where I was given specific instructions. I was given a set of directives almost, and structural information, which was going to be the foundation of what I'm actually still doing to this very day. Now, this all happened over a slower period of time. It happened over a matter of years. I had time to kind of acclimatise to it. I had time to bed myself in, do my research, do my learning, gather stuff and bring it to me. But I was very on my own during this period of time. Like I still had the normal job, and everything else around us was around me was very, very 3D at the time. And that is so different from what we are experiencing at the moment. So if we kind of move forwards from this point, like sort of a good decade into the future, the wake up in 10 years from 2008, you know, like fast forward to 2018, all of a sudden you're looking at people that are waking up instantaneously, instead of having that kind of that period of grace. I call it a period of grace because that's what I felt that I was given, even though it was incredibly intense at the time. My experience allowed me to grow into it. The difference now is that when people are waking up to what is going on around us on this planet, to who they are and what they're actually going to be doing for the rest of their lives here, there is no time comparatively involved. It's almost like the bag comes off the head, the entire world has changed, and it's like, right, off you go into the big wide world, go and change it. And we're going to see another bulk wave of this coming in over the winter. I'm still not entirely sure what the circumstances will be to create this or to trigger it, but you and I can probably guess that it's due to the intensity of the experiences that we are having. Now, there are a lot of scenarios at the moment out there which are very doom and gloom. They're kind of predicting an increase in the draconian measures and an increase in the level of social control that we are experiencing. But what occurs to me is that a lot of this is done with the intention of triggering our survival buttons, triggering our fear, putting us into a state where we are constantly looking or waiting for the hammer to fall. Now, if we're in that state, if we're constantly worried about our future, if we're constantly dreaming these scenarios into our heads about, you know, like the dystopian tale of 1984 or the Handmaid's Tale or all of the other things that are in circulation, I personally believe that this is predictive programming. I believe that this is attempting to tell people what they are going to experience. Now, there's a big difference in creating your own reality and having your reality fed to you. Okay, now our job is to create what has been described by the seraphim as a high road. Take the high road. You know, as a kid, it was like a beautiful Scottish saying or a part of a song. Take the high road. And seraphim were very clear about this. You know, the seraphim are builders. They the way that I've seen them is they literally sing reality. They use sonics to bring energy into a solid structure. Now, anything above kind of 5D is no longer solid. It's energetic, but our experience of it would probably be a lot more, you know, a lot more tangible, a lot more solid than we actually imagine. So they are here and were very much part of the workshop that I was running on Monday night. And when I was communicating with them prior to the workshop and saying to them, look, these are my concerns, not fears, concerns about where we are going, they were just, what are you worried about? What are you worried about? We are creating a high road. We are creating a reality that is much, much higher than the previous one that you were used to. In order to experience this higher reality, to be part of it, everything that you were part of that anchored you into that 3D matrix has to be let go of. You have to cut the guy ropes, you have to cut the anchors, you have to allow yourself to ascend above the everyday fears, mundanities, the aspects of your reality which you regarded as important, but in actual fact are just part of a big TV picture. And on one side you might say, well, it's okay having that kind of view if you're a seraphim and you don't have the earthly worries that we do. But on another side of it, their focus of creation is actually completely on point. We can't create from a higher viewpoint. We can't create this fifth dimensional reality for ourselves if we are rooted in fear in any way. Now, this is where you've got to kind of start balancing out practical with impractical. How much of what I'm saying here is actually practical? How much of our day, night, all of our working time can we commit to being fearless, not being anchored into any kind of fearful expectation in any way, shape or form? And this is what I believe, this is where I think we need to start being considerably more disciplined with what we focus our attention on, because this high road is very real. This golden mapping, or this layout of this new fifth dimensional matrix, is solid, it is tangible, it's something that if we engage with, we experience. Whatever we focus on, wherever our attention goes at the moment, that is where what, and the format of everything that we will experience once we move ourselves into it. So how do we disengage from these very real everyday worries that we have around us, the things that we are being presented with? And I do genuinely, sincerely believe this is where the actual lesson within everything that we are experiencing actually lies. The second we move into a state of fear, the second we are rooted in any consciousness that is triggering our alarm bells, moving us out of heart-centered consciousness into survival consciousness, ego consciousness, it immediately changes the platform of the reality that we exist on. Now, we have got to disentangle ourselves from this previous reality, okay? And we've got to be practical about it, because so like, yeah, we still have jobs in the I'm going to say, like, we still have jobs in the matrix. We still have children in schools in the matrix. A lot of other things, you know, financially are tied into the matrix, but there is nothing to say that we have to engage with that on its level, okay? The way to change and the way to disengage is to stop playing the game at that vibration, and that's what we're being invited to do on a minute-to-minute basis. The second we scroll through Facebook or Instagram or YouTube and see something that sparks or justifies that fear-based reaction, that anger that we feel towards the souls that are creating this very, very real, very tangible kind of field of fear, hyper alertness, anger, and the need to kind of either fight, the fight or flight. That's the thing that we need to be kind of aware of within ourselves. Is it creating a feeling of love, or is it triggering the fight or flight response that many of us have? And that is human instinct. You can't override human instinct, but what you can do is change how you respond to something. That's always been one of the key methods of changing any form of psychology, is choosing how to respond to it, how we deal with it. Now, we in many ways are taking our stand on this planet as sovereign beings of the light. Now, to stand in sovereignty means to stand up for your rights as a physical human being on this planet, and you have those rights. No governing body, no group of souls who have put themselves in a position of power can give you your sovereignty. They can't take your sovereignty away from you. They can't allocate you aspects of it and tell you that the rest of it isn't accessible. They have no power. They have absolutely no power whatsoever, only if you hand it to them. So this comes back to the quality of our interaction with the matrix, how we perceive it and how we integrate with it. Are we going to kick and scream and shout and fight our way out, or are we going to simply just rise above it and disengage, but do it in a way that is simply, it's almost like down to etiquette. How do you say no thank you, I'm not participating, and disengage, or do you do it from a point of anger? Because essentially the result, there's no two ways about it. We can't take the aspects that are still plugged into the matrix and take that with us at that frequency. It has to be done at the higher level. So I think many of us over the coming months are going to be looking at how we are disengaging and how we are responding to these triggers. Now, a lot of you will be, especially if you're in the UK or if you're in Australia, will be saying, well, how do I respond as a parent to something which I am regarding as a threat? You use your sovereignty, you use the laws that are given to you, and you disengage. Many of us are in that situation where we are having to say, well, no, that is not right for me, it is not right for my family, I am choosing this way of living. And regardless of the protests from the matrix around you as you disengage, this is what we are being very guided to do. So it's all about how we engage with it. It's all about how we are building the next phase, and it's all about how we are focusing our energy, our light and our intention at the moment in time. And of course we are going to be tested on this now, okay? Because I personally believe that in order to, if we're going back to what I was saying about from November to February, we're looking at kind of roughly 12 weeks of a lot of people waking up very suddenly. Now, in order to do that, you usually have to, it kind of goes without saying that the circumstances have to be intense, or the information that is being presented to trigger that response from people has to be intense. So we need to be alert and prepared for this, but not in any way, shape or form in a state of fear. I think that's what I'm kind of circumnavigating all of this kind of information. And the conclusion that I'm coming to is that if we are in a state of love-based preparedness, there is absolutely nothing that we can't co-create together. However, if we're all in a disorganized state of fear and kind of like you've got that collective sense of doom anticipation, which is a very real field at the moment, then that is where we start to kind of swim against the tide. We're swimming against the current. we've already committed ourselves to the higher flow. Okay, so once you put yourself into that higher flow, it's very easy to step out of it again, but it feels very, very uncomfortable. So these feelings of discomfort are going to increase the more we are connecting into the lower frequencies, the matrix. I'm using that word, the matrix, a lot this morning. I'm just hearing it being presented to me very clearly on a regular basis, because the two realities are so defined and so distinct at the moment. But the bizarre and very unique aspect of where we are at the moment is that we are engaging with the pair of them. Okay, we've had to become energetic chameleons to get where we are today. We've had to become very, very, very skillful in how we navigate these two realities together. And believe me, this does not occur on a regular basis throughout the kind of the universal spaces that we've committed ourselves to over our many thousands of incarnations. The experience that we're having on Earth at the moment is particularly unique because it is happening in such a short space of time before. And if you look at it from that point of view, usually the jump from 3D to 5D that we are experiencing at the moment happens over a much longer space of time, hundreds of years, not 20. So we've all come down from the various, the kind of like the heights of the universe as experts in our field to incarnate on Earth at this time to do this job. And so many people will be waking up to the reality of that job over the next 3 to 6 months. Now, these sudden wake-ups that we are going to see, and we are going to see them, they will be I think quite a lot of us have got used to the snap wake-ups now. We're used to people suddenly like kind of jolting awake, unplugging very rapidly, and then going into almost like a hyper state of if you remember what happened to you when you went through it, whether it was recent, whether it happened a long time ago, once you've woken up, you immediately kind of get this rush, this realization, this kind of like the epiphany that occurs when you realize that you are much in a very different space to the one that you originally thought. But then inevitably comes the cleansing, inevitably comes the period of time where you then have to ditch the old clothes, you have to ditch the old energies, and that can be painful, and inevitably it usually is, or it can be just very challenging, it can be very hard work. It can either happen through physical illness or it can happen through change of circumstances. However that dark night presents itself, what I am seeing is that it's going to be happening collectively for quite a considerable group of people, and we kind of need to be on standby to catch these not catch these souls, but be there to stabilize the field and stabilize them as a soul group as they move into this period of change. So we've got some interesting stuff coming up. We always have, though. I mean, what part of the last 2 years, or looking even further back from that, hasn't been challenging, or it hasn't been interesting? It's all been designed very, very, very carefully, not just to keep us on our toes, but to be the most incredible transition from one state of reality to another. As soon as Gaia, as soon as Mother Earth decided that she was no longer going to occupy that lower frequency and she was going to take what's been described as the high road, everything began to change. But the unique part about it is how quickly that transition is occurring, and we're exactly halfway through now. Okay, when we get to this changeover, the winter solstice here, we've got the equinox first. Yeah, equinox isn't far away. Equinoxes are always fun, but all of a sudden we get to December, and then this year, and then we move into January, and as we move into January 2022, that is the halfway point. Okay, this is the point at which we can actually say, right, the next 10 years are going to be structurally very turbulent, but we're building the high road, and there are going to be so many of us on board now. The tipping point has been reached. Okay, we're no longer what we call like a consciousness minority. The equilibrium on this planet was reached some time ago, and that was enough to create the rolling ball of wake-ups. Anything else that we are experiencing is kind of, it's got to be seen through, but it is not our point of focus. So from that perspective, again, as I've said so many times previously, be very aware of where your attention is. Okay, be very aware of what you are taking on as your potential reality, because that potential reality will be shared by other people, and then it becomes a field. Okay, and if that field is fed, it becomes a potential. So we are all looking to create the highest version of this field possible, and it's very doable. we've got every soul in the universe assisting planet Earth, assisting us building it. So it's not like we are just kind of trying to execute some pipe dream, you know, against all odds. We've got the odds in our favor. The universe is backing us to do this, but all our survival buttons are being very triggered by a very dedicated group of souls who are trying to drag us back into that reality at the moment. I hope you understand where I'm coming from this morning. So effectively, we are building alongside the seraphim. We are building alongside the angels, the ascended masters, the galactics, the unicorns, the dragons, and all of the other souls. We're not assisting to maintain a 3D matrix, which we've all decided that we're going to unplug ourselves from anyway. We just have to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that whatever we are doing to extract from that is done from a point, a higher point, a point of love. If we engage with it with anger, if we engage with it with fear, we are simply feeding it. We are giving it more reason and cause to continue to exist and to be dominant in that particular field. So on that note, I'm going to wrap up my Friday Ascension musings and wish you all the most beautiful weekend. It's wherever you are, whatever you are doing, approach it from a point of love. I'm sending you all loads of love from the centre of my heart, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.